Okay, so picture this. You've just slept a full 8 hours, maybe even 9. You did everything right, you went to bed on time, you turned off your screens, you closed your eyes. And yet you drag yourself out of bed in the morning feeling like you literally just ran a marathon in your sleep. The exhaustion is still just sitting there, heavy in your bones, totally clouding your mind. It is incredibly frustrating, right? Well, today we're going to look at a really fascinating analysis that completely shifts how we view this invisible problem. So welcome to this explainer. I am seriously so glad you're here. Today we're going to diagnose exactly why all your hard work, your resting, and your daily efforts might just not be giving you the results you actually want. We are diving deep into a brilliant breakdown of mental fatigue, and we're going to explore the profound differences between psychological burnout and spiritual exhaustion. By the time you wrap this up, you are going to have a completely new lens through which to view your daily energy. All right, let's take a quick look at our roadmap for today. We're going to start by identifying the hidden energy drain, then walk through the 6 warning signs, explain restless sleep, tackle psychological versus spiritual fatigue, and finally look at finding true healing. Let's jump right into part 1, the hidden energy drain. We absolutely have to uncover where your daily energy is secretly leaking away, because I guarantee it's probably not where you think it is. Now, what's really fascinating here is the ratio. Think about it like this. You wake up every single day with 100 units of energy. Well, the crazy part is a lot of us are throwing 80% of that straight down the drain. How? Mostly through relentless worry, overthinking, and feeding the ego, which is referred to as the nafs. You're pouring 80% of your vitality into pure anxiety, leaving a measly 20% for your actual work, your personal growth, and your life. And then, we wonder why our income isn't going up or why we feel completely stuck. Which brings us to this brilliant insight. People are constantly complaining that opportunities just, aren't coming their way. But here's the reality check. Opportunities are attracted to focus. They're attracted to positivity and high energy. You literally cannot attract or grab onto a massive opportunity when you're operating on a pathetic 20% battery charge. It's your high energy that catches the opportunity, not the other way around. So the absolutely crucial point here is that we have to stop this massive energy leak. Think of it exactly like your smartphone. When your phone battery is draining fast, what's the first thing you do? You activate battery saving mode, right? When you stop the pointless worrying and actually cleanse your mind of these heavy burdens, you effectively switch on your internal battery saving mode. And when you do this, something amazing happens. Evening rolls around, and sure, your physical body might be a little tired, but your mind and your soul are still sharp, completely outlasting your physical limits. Moving right along to part 2, the 6 warning signs. So, how do you actually know if you're suffering from this massive mental drain? Well, we're entering the diagnostic phase now, so I want you to mentally check off if you are experiencing any of these. We are looking for cloudy vision, an overactive mind that literally produces 0 results, scattered thoughts, terrible decision-making, extreme irritability, and unrelenting physical fatigue. Let's break these down a bit so we can really understand what they look like in everyday life. First up is what's often called brain fog. And I don't just mean forgetting where you put your keys. This is a cloudy inability to see your own future. You try to look ahead and there is just nothing. Blankness. The internal frustration this causes is absolutely immense. You desperately want to move forward, but you literally cannot visualize the path. There is a really powerful ancient metaphor for that second sign, having an overactive mind with no results. Imagine a blindfolded ox tied to a water wheel. It walks and walks and walks all day long, burning up massive amounts of energy. But when the blindfold finally comes off at sunset, that ox is standing in the exact same spot it started in that morning. Your mind is racing, you are totally exhausted, but you haven't actually moved forward a single inch. And that leads us directly into signs 3 and 4, scattered thoughts and poor decision-making. Making a real, meaningful decision requires immense courage and a significant amount of highly concentrated energy. But if you remember our 80-20 rule from earlier, you've already thrown 80% of your energy away. When your thoughts are just dispersed and scattered all over the place, your ability to make firm, courageous decisions drops to basically 0. You just don't have the mental fuel left to commit to anything. Now, sign 5 is kinda tricky. Extreme irritability. Mental exhaustion very often disguises itself as anger. Have you ever found yourself just ready to fight the world, ready to snap at a complete stranger over an incredibly minor inconvenience? That sudden flare-up, that total lack of patience, that is not just you being in a bad mood. That is a glaring symptom of a mind that is completely fatigued and totally overwhelmed. All right, let's get into part 3, restless sleep explained. Let's finally answer that big question we asked at the very beginning of this explainer. Why isn't your sleep recharging you? There's a fascinating contrast we need to look at here. Under normal circumstances, sleep is an incredible healing mechanism. If you experience grief or stress, you sleep, and slowly, night after night, the sleep pushes the pain backward and heals the body. But if a person is spiritually sick, totally obsessed, or just relentlessly feeding their ego, normal sleep doesn't work. The subconscious mind just keeps running the engine all night long. You might physically be lying in bed, but your soul is scattered, still fighting the struggle in your dreams. So yeah, of course you wake up exhausted. To highlight just how absurd this level of mental obsession can get, it's honestly like trying to grow crops on completely barren land. Or even better, it's like obsessively praying every single day to win the lottery when you never even bothered to buy a ticket. You are draining all your emotional energy hoping for an outcome that's basically impossible. Which brings us to part 4, psychological versus spiritual fatigue. Okay, so if we know the energy is draining and we know exactly what the symptoms look like, we have to ask, where is all this deep-rooted stuff actually coming from? Let's look at a super common cycle. When people feel this intense mental fatigue, what do they normally do? They go to a doctor, right? They get prescribed antidepressants or anti-anxiety meds. Step 2, they take the pills, and the symptoms actually subside. They feel a lot better. But then step 3, they eventually stop taking the medication. And step 4, the exhaustion and the darkness come rushing right back. This whole cycle proves a really vital point. If a pill only works temporarily, the root cause is not just a chemical imbalance in the mind. The root is much, much deeper. And this brilliantly illustrates the core thesis of this whole analysis. We are constantly mixing up the mind and the soul, or the ruh. Many severe issues that we desperately try to treat as psychological, taking endless medications for, are actually spiritual issues, and vice versa. Many things we think are spiritual crises are really just psychological problems. They're totally tangled up, and treating the mind when it's actually the soul that is sick is literally like putting a Band-Aid on a broken bone. It's just not going to work. Finally, part 5, finding true healing. So how do we actually break free from this relentless cycle and finally get our energy back? Well, the reality is pretty clear, even if it's tough to hear. We cannot accurately diagnose ourselves. Our eyes are basically closed to our own flaws. You might think you have a psychological issue when it's really spiritual, or you might be convinced it's spiritual when it's actually psychological. Because we are so deeply stuck inside our own heads, we desperately need a neutral, third-party observer to look at us objectively and identify what the real problem is. Now, if that neutral observer finds that your fatigue goes way deeper than just the mind, the ultimate cure isn't going to be found in a pharmacy. It is found in a concept called tazkiyah. Tazkiyah is the profound, deep cleansing of the inner self. It's the taming of that ego or nefs that we talked about earlier. It's all about purifying your inner world so that your 80% energy finally stops leaking into the gutter of worry and obsession. But to actually achieve this, you need a true guide, which is known as a murshid. An authentic guide isn't just going to sit there and hand you a generic prescription because it's what everyone else is taking. No, they provide that vital, neutral third-party perspective. They have the actual expertise to look at you and correctly diagnose whether your exhaustion is rooted in your mind or in your soul. They reject the one-size-fits-all fixes of modern society and target the actual specific root of your fatigue. And that leaves us with a truly profound thought to wrap up this explainer. I want you to look at your own exhaustion, look at your own scattered thoughts and those restless nights, and ask yourself honestly, are your struggles truly rooted in your mind, requiring a psychological fix? Or are they rooted deep in your soul, calling out for a profound inner cleansing? Taking the time to find the true answer to that question might just be the exact key you need to getting your 100% energy back. Thank you so much for joining me as we explored these incredible concepts. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I will see you in the next one.